All right, let's jump right in. We're talking about those massive engineering projects. Think data centers, hospitals, highways. These are high-stakes games, you know? We're talking billions of dollars on the line. Get it right, and you're literally building the future. Get it wrong, well, you've got yourself a recipe for absolute disaster. So, that brings us to the big question, right? How do you steer these monster projects away from the edge of a cliff? How do you make sure that a project with a mind-boggling budget and impossibly tight deadlines actually delivers what it's supposed to without just completely spinning out of control? That's really the core question we're going to tackle in this explainer. And to get to the bottom of this, we're not just going to stick to theory. No, we're going to follow a real-world example, the construction of a brand new, state-of-the-art data storage center in Grimstad. Their journey is going to be our roadmap here.
Okay, section 1, the puzzle. And really, every major construction project is like a giant, super intricate puzzle. You've got designers, developers, suppliers, and if just one piece is out of place, the whole picture can just fall apart.
And the risks? Oh, they are very, very real. We're talking about budget overruns that can cripple a company, delays that throw the entire timeline into chaos, not to mention design flaws, poor quality, and these incredibly expensive legal battles. I mean, the stakes just couldn't be higher. On to section 2, the recipe for success. So, how do you avoid all that chaos we just talked about? Well, it turns out there's a tried and true method, and it all kicks off with one fundamental idea. That idea is called process understanding. It's all about seeing the project not as a bunch of separate tasks, but as one single connected whole. And here's the crucial part. The choices you make really early on about what you need, your requirements, the design, they create these massive ripple effects that impact cost, quality, and risk way down the line. And you put that understanding into practice with a structured execution model. It's really just a logical sequence of steps. First, you figure out what you actually need. Then you design the solution. After that, you find the contractor who's going to build it. And finally, you test it and hand it over. It sounds simple, but it's a framework that helps you manage an insane amount of complexity. Which brings us to section 3, who's in charge? Now, having this structure is great, but it leads to the most critical question of all. Who is actually responsible for what? And that's where the contract comes in, because this is all about allocating risk. You see, choosing the right contract model is, without a doubt, the single most important decision a project owner makes. This isn't just paperwork, okay? It's the legal backbone that defines power, dictates responsibility, and, most importantly, decides who holds the risk when things go wrong. So this really boils down to a fundamental choice. On one hand, you have a design-build contract. This is where the client, the owner, provides all the detailed blueprints. If there's a flaw in that design, that's the client's risk. But on the other hand, you have a design-build contract. Here, the client just specifies the outcome. You know, I need a data center that does X, and the contractor handles everything else, taking on all the risk for both the design and the construction. So, back to our case study. What did Grimstad do? They went with the design-build model. Why? Because they wanted a single point of responsibility. One main contractor to manage the entire project, from the physical building and the server racks to the software, to make absolutely sure that every single component worked together seamlessly. All right, next up, section 4. It's about more than just price. Now, you might think choosing a contractor is simple. Just pick the cheapest bid, right? Well, not anymore. In modern public projects, the best offer isn't about the lowest price tag. It's about the greatest value. Just take a look at the award criteria for the Grimstad Data Center. Price? That's only 15% of the decision. The biggest factor, sitting at 30%, is sustainability. Quality and experience also weigh more heavily than the final cost. This represents a fundamental shift in how we think about these projects. And this isn't just a one-off choice that Grimstad made. It actually reflects a much bigger trend. In Norway, public procurement regulations now require that climate and environmental considerations be weighted at a minimum of 30%. Think about that. This is forcing the entire industry to innovate and find greener ways to build. Okay, final section. Governance, ethics, and trust. So, you've got your plan, you've got your partner. Now, how do you keep everything on the rails? This is where governance, ethics, and trust become absolutely critical. And these are the instruments on your control panel. You need an up-to-date progress plan so you know where you are. You need a system for change orders to handle those inevitable adjustments.
And you need quality assurance to make sure standards are being met. But maybe the most powerful tool of all is also one of the simplest, the project log.
So, what is the log? It's basically a detailed daily diary of everything that happens on site. Every decision, every change, every problem, every solution. It's not just for keeping track of things. It's crucial evidence that protects both sides if a dispute pops up later on.
But here's the thing. You can have the best contracts and the most detailed logs in the world, and they mean absolutely nothing without the right mindset. Because at the end of the day, a project isn't just a stack of documents. It's a human collaboration. And this is where ethics really come into play. Imagine this real-world dilemma. A potential supplier offers you, the project manager, an all-expenses-paid study trip to see their facilities abroad. So what is it? Is it a legitimate learning opportunity, or is it a thinly veiled bribe? These are the kinds of situations that really test the integrity of the entire process.
The antidote to this is something called the loyalty principle. It's an ethical foundation that's actually built into modern contracts. It basically says that both parties have a duty to act in good faith, to cooperate, to share information honestly, and to warn each other early about potential problems. It's all about working together for the project's success, not just for your own individual gain.
Which brings us to our final question. What really builds a successful project? Is it ironclad rules and strict enforcement, or is it mutual trust that allows for flexibility and genuine collaboration? Well, the best projects, like the one in Grimstad, suggest that the answer isn't one or the other. It's about finding that perfect, delicate balance between the two.